Hello, my name is Leo Ham and I'm this year's India team leader for KCM STSM. This year we have 18 students and we're going to be going to India to preach the gospel to as many people as possible. Many students like to go on missions for a lot of different reasons. They want to make a lot of good friends. They want to, especially for a place like India, they want to have a good, crazy experience, like an adventure. They want to grow. And all these things are good, but I think if we focus on those things, then I can't say that our mission will be successful. We are going for one purpose this summer, and that's to proclaim the gospel to as many people as possible as God gives us the opportunity to do so.
First day we arrived at Bangalore and we just met up with Missionary Chung, and he just showed us around the school system he set up with St. Paul's School, where he set up a Christian school in this Hindu nation. And for the first week and a half we were able to work with the Chelakari and Kavanahali branch St. Paul's schools. We worked with preschool to 12th grade kids. We were able to do discipleship and VBS ministry. We were able to just really do arts and crafts, body worship, praise, and just read the Bible together.
I just had a little bit of time to disciple some of the kids. So I had 3 kids and I got to talk to them more intentionally and deeply about their faith. And 2 of them said they're Christian and 1 of them said they're Hindu. And I was just really blessed because the Christian ones, like, I would think that, they would just give me like the usual answers that everyone gives me. I would think that they don't really know the gospel, but these guys were serious about the gospel, and I was so blessed and encouraged by that. And the Hindu one, he was really open to it, and I could really feel that God was working in this kid's heart.
They had like nothing. They only had this little journal, and all they had were like Bible verses that Missionary Chung gave them. So like it was just really blessing to see that like these kids, like in a place where it's dominated by Hindi and like where they're looked down upon, Christians are looked down upon, to see that they're like doing their homework, they're able to like be so excited for Jesus was really a blessing.
My last class was really memorable. This is a prayer request. They gave some prayer requests to me, and like one of the kids, it was really encouraging. She wanted me to pray for her dad because I guess he's an alcoholic and he's fighting along with his mom too. So just those kind of things really encouraged me. And like randomly, like kids came up and wanted my autograph too, and that was pretty funny. They even asked me if I was married. I'm 18. I don't know, but it's really a blessing.
After that second week, we went to the Barakai branch, where it's more of a rural environment. We met up with Missionary Moses. Even there, we did VBS ministry, the same things as we did in Bangalore. But we also were able to visit 11 villages.
This one village that we went to over like 20 villages, but there was this one village that we went to that stuck out to me. And the first thing you see when you even drive in is like this huge cow idol with Lord Shiva, which is like basically a blue devil looking thing. And you just drive in, and we were with Missionary Moses, and he was our contact at Barakai, and he came out. He was banging the drums, same as normal, But something that was different about this village was that this village was very fearful, and very timid.
And we did some skits, and we're trying to give out candy, and these children were afraid of us. They wouldn't even want to take the candy. They were running away from us. And I just couldn't help but thinking that this place is something was missing. Like every other village, like they were welcoming and they loved to see us, but somehow this was a little different. But we got back on the bus, and I remember the missionary Moses was like, hey, I never went to this village before. We actually never, no KCM, no group has ever even came. I never even came here before. And that's when I knew, like, we were the first people ever to worship God in this village. We were the first group to just sing praises to Him in that village, and it was just so amazing to be a part of God's history.
One of the villages that we stopped by were the Untouchables village, and the Untouchables group is like the lowest caste in India, and like when I got there, I just sensed the lack of hope in the whole community, and it just seemed like people were struggling to live every day. And when we got to the corner, we stopped, we did some skits, VBS skits and some songs, and just try to get the crowd to open up. During the entire skit, I just kept looking up, and I saw a grandma in the crowd. She was pretty old, probably like in her 70s, and she just was watching really intently. She was nodding her head with us, like she just seemed to understand. I just went up to her and I just gave her a hug, and I tried to explain to her, I told her Jesus was the only God, and I noticed that she had a red dot on her forehead right here, and she didn't know too much English, but I tried to explain, like, you know, I pointed at her the dot, and I was like, it's not like Hinduism, it's not many gods, and if you just believe in this one God, one God, Jesus Christ, then you could go to heaven and spend eternity there. And I just saw a change in her face, and she took off the dot from her forehead and she threw it on the ground, and that just brought me to tears. Like, I just sensed God moving in her heart.
Pastor Moses is, and even in listening to his testimony, how he was making pretty good money in Korea before, but really how he just took God's calling because he knew that God wanted him to be in India. Just seeing that and seeing him work so hard, even with just all the need that there is there, even with the struggles that are in Barakai, physical, spiritual, all those struggles that he faces, even with those struggles, seeing him just work for God and seeing how much he loves God, really just, it got to me, and it really left an impression.
Third week, we traveled around to the state of Andhra Pradesh. We traveled around with a translator, Pastor Joseph. This trip was mainly just going around supporting the local churches, local pastors, and the minority group of Christians in the villages where they were just really just proclaiming the gospel, even among the Hindu communities. And we were just able to visit their houses, pray for them, and just really support them through our prayers and through the songs that we provided for them.
It's just amazing how, God is really planting these churches in India, in the land that, there are so many non-Christians, people who never heard the gospel. And, where the culture is so different and, there's so many idols and so many different religions. Just to see that, there are churches being planted, it was just an amazing experience for me. When we went, before we went to the villages, we didn't expect there to be any believers. But, God works amazingly, and just to see that there are believers, you know, even though they don't have a set building for the church, you know, for them to really set time aside for God, worshiping God together at a house, you know, that alone shows that, you know, God is moving in India.
One person that really sticks out in my mind is this old grandma, and it was at one of the churches that we visited, and she just came and joined our team circle as we prayed, and she kneeled beside me, and I got to hold just like her withering hands, and I got to pray for her, and it was such a blessing to see that even in her old age, even in this country where there aren't very many Christians, very little Christians actually, and even in that state where, you know, it's less than 1% Christian, she was living out this life of faith. And as I prayed for her and as I held her hand and flipped through her Bible, I just really hoped that I can one day be a woman of God just like her, and, you know, even in my old age, to be someone that really seeks after God and really dwells in His Word and really just loves Him.
Our team witnessed one person converting to Christianity, and you know, just witnessing that, you know, it just shows how amazing God is, and, you know, God's love is sufficient, and, you know, God is the one that actually takes away all the sorrows and all the pain and all the hurt. And, you know, whether or not that lady really accepted Christ or not, I think that curiosity is still there. And, you know, that alone, you know, praise God, you know, I mean, our team, you know, we were really focusing, I mean, we really wanted at least one soul to convert, and, you know, and I think just to see that, you know, in person and like being part of, you know, God's really amazing work in people's lives, you know, I think I was tremendously blessed by it.
Fourth week was a vision trip. We visited Calcutta, Varanasi, Agra, and New Delhi. And just through that, our main goal was to just see the urgency of the gospel.
Well, we traveled India, and we went on these sleeper trains. And I met a friend on the first train ride, which is 30 hours, and his name is Ranjit. And we were talking, and ultimately, you know, I was trying to break ground with him at first, a common ground, and ultimately we started talking about our religions because he's Hindu, and we were debating about our religions, and ultimately at the end he started questioning his, you know, and wow, like it really showed me how God uses foolish people.
But traveling in itself, it was really eye-opening too, besides the fact that it showed the urgency of the gospel. That visiting cities such as Agra, Kolkata, Varanasi, northern India is crazy, you know. Just the percentage of Christians there is basically non-existent, and yeah, like I said before, it's really eye-opening.
Varanasi, it's in the state of Uttar Pradesh, and there's like 200 million people there, and there's 300 million people in the States, and so it's just crazy to see that many people, but we found out there's only 0.3% Christians there. When we toured around the neighborhood around our hotel, we saw that there were an idol in each shop, and every time we turned the corner there was another idol there, and our tour guide was Hindu, and so every time he would turn the corner he would bow down to these idols and do his prayer and whatnot. And we also went to a Hindu ceremony, and I thought it was like a once in a year type ceremony that they do in celebration of their Hindu religion, but we found out they do this every single day, and it was crazy to see how many people there were at the Ganges River. watching in awe of this ceremony, and to see that, it just broke my heart to see all these people like worshiping these idols and to have their faith and their hope in these things that are false. And you know, our God loves us so much, and if it broke my heart to see these people like worshiping these false gods and how they put their everything into these fake things, then how much would it hurt like God, the Creator?
So the reason that we went to India this summer was to faithfully proclaim the gospel as God gives us opportunity. And I can say that we were good at accomplishing that this summer. Not just by teaching it, not just by preaching it, but through the skits and body worships that we did, by not only loving the people of India, but also by loving each other.
You know, you asked me like, hey Grace, like what are you gonna do now, like after India? Is, you know, like I realized like this world's hard. You know, this world is so small and compared to like what God has in store for us. So, you know, if you think about it, like this life, you should glorify God, you know?
From everything I've learned, what I could take back here is really just the urgency to proclaim the gospel and always being ready for whatever God may call me to do, and really just being disciplined in every aspect, everything I do.
Yeah, people in India every day, basically 98% of the country, statistically wise, every day is going to hell. You know, and that's so sad to see. You know, and that's because some of them haven't heard the gospel. You know, haven't heard the good news. And yet in America, people have heard the good news, and people have heard the gospel. You know, and yet they're still going to hell too, you know. And it's like, wow, like just that new sense of urgency that our time here is so short, and we have already attained perfection in heaven as citizens of heaven, and we should live up to that honor here in this short amount of time that we have.
I learned that Jesus Christ is far more precious and valuable than anything this world could offer. I knew this before, and I've heard it in Sunday school all my life, but it never became so real to me.
You know, what would my life look like if I really gave God my 100%, if I really lived my life for God 100%? And I think as my love for the gospel grew throughout this trip, just seeing the lives of Indian Christians and hearing the ways that He worked in my own teammates' lives, my willingness to give up everything, everything that I find valuable for the sake of His gospel and for His name, my willingness to do those things just grew naturally.
That's what it takes to be a disciple, a doulos, a faithful servant, to give up everything at that moment, or give up everything in your life for God. And I think that's what I struggled with for 22 years, and I'm finally glad that I found the answer to life. In order to truly live, you must die. In order to gain life, you must lose it first. And dang, it finally made sense. That's what being not only a Christian, but being a disciple is all about. It's giving up everything in this world, because naked you come and naked you will go.
Really realizing that in the Bible, Jesus says Himself that not only were we to live up to His standards, but we were to go beyond His standards, and He gave us that blessing. And how great of our God to do that.
You know, one thing that I like to say to my students is when people ask you, what did you learn in India? You should answer, I'll show you, I'll show you. And so my hope is that even as we're back, these students will be truly asking themselves, am I living out the faith that I have? Am I living out the faith that I have? And you know, I hope that 5-10 years from now, I can see some of them living passionately, boldly, and uncommonly for the Great Commission. So I think the trip was a success. Not only, obviously it was a success because we proclaimed the gospel, but God was so good to us in allowing our team to learn so much. And I'm really eager to see how our students are gonna be living for the kingdom. So I hope this video was an encouragement. See ya. I don't know. Sorry about the ending.